Good morning, everybody. We are here for another trail interview. We're not on the trail. We're at the Country Inn Motel in, what's the town? Elkton, Virginia. We're in day 3 of the Smoky Mountain National Park, or I think we finished day 3, so I think today would start day 4. But I'm going to be parting soon once I finish the halfway point. So Mark and I have been together a long time, and we needed to get this trail interview done. And so Mark and I first met, and I'm already sharing part of the question by saying your name, but him and I met in Georgia, and we've had a good story together, and I'll let maybe Mark share some of that. But so let's get right into it. So number one is, what's your name and where you're from?
My name is Mark. I'm from Alberta, Canada. That's up north. From a couple different spots in Alberta. My family's now settled in Westlock, Alberta. But
When I first met him, he had such an accent. We're like, where are you from? And we knew he was from Canada, eh? And so
everyone teases me on it, but you know.
So what's your trail name and how'd you get it? And I know you to have had 2 trail names, so share with our group.
Well, I started out with Pumpkin because my last name is Kerbis, which is the literal German word for pumpkin.
Okay, Kerbis means pumpkin, okay?
Means pumpkin, yeah.
And when I met him, I knew him as Pumpkin.
Yeah.
But because he's from Canada, and then how'd you transition to that new name?
Well, it started out because of my accent. Everyone just started calling me Canada.
Yeah.
Because I'd run into some guys or whatnot, they'd be like, I'm not calling a grown man Pumpkin.
Yeah.
They get really uncomfortable, which would just make me smile, because I'm comfortable. Why aren't you?
I'm not calling a grown man Pumpkin. I love that. All right, then, so Canada was the short.
Yep.
And then how'd we get to Canada Dry?
People would start saying that I have a really dry sense of humor. So then it was like, they're already calling me Canada. So then they just bumped on the Canada Dry.
So what y'all don't know, on his AT hiker tag, he's got a Canada Dry sticker on it. So it's pretty cool. So his hiker tag says Canada Dry. So that's his name.
Yeah, well, what's funny is before they dubbed me Canada Dry, years and years, Canada Dry Ginger Ale has been my preferred soft drink. And so once they dubbed me that, it was like, oh, this works out really good. I bought a bottle, I cut the tag off, I taped it to my AT tag.
I've seen that. So what brought you to the AT? Why were you hiking?
To find myself.
Okay.
To know who I am. I had a lot of questions. I still have a lot of questions, you know. There's a quote I think of often, and I can't remember who said it, but it's the further one goes, the less one knows. But I came here to find out who I am.
Okay. And I know your backstory, so we'll save that. So so that's why you're on trail. That's kind of common. A lot of people are maybe going through something, or they're just wanting a break. They're in between seasons of life, and they want to get on the trail for a reset, we call it. So what hiking experience did you have?
I mean, I've experienced all the types of weather.
Yeah.
I've experienced all the types of attitude that come with all the types of weather.
I meant like before trail, though. Have you done much hiking before the AT?
Oh, yeah. So I've done some backpacking. When I was really little, I was junior forest warden.
Yeah.
And that's a program where they teach you to light fires and do backpacking. And that starts out like 3 to 4 all the way up to 12.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of that when I was really young. And so I spent some time in the woods doing that.
So by the way, Mark is our fire guy. Every time we get to a campsite, he'll build a fire for us, and he's so good, he'll build it at night, leave wood, and then we'll stoke it for the morning. So that's good.
And then when I was older, when I was 13, I joined the Royal Canadian Army Cadet Program. And for those of you who don't know, it's a youth program paid for by the Canadian DoD, Department of Defense. It's a way for youth to experience, to learn new different skills, including leadership, survival, drill, discipline, all sorts of different important skills, as well as an introduction to the military in case you want to go that route.
Okay.
It is 100% optional. Most cadets don't go into the military afterwards, but the experiences and the learning you have is invaluable.
Good. Yeah. So you have that in your experience. So that's background experience.
Yeah.
So far since we've been on trail together, what's been your favorite experience so far, or memory, or
The people. You know, I came here because
people? Yeah.
God wanted me to. But it's the people that make you stay. It's the people you meet. It's the AT has such an extensive and important culture. It's huge.
Yeah. I've noticed that from day one.
I remember walking through Damascus, and Damascus has pavers for sidewalks.
Yeah.
These little bricks, and they've got sayings and quotes from former hikers. And as I was walking, I wasn't reading all of them. I was just glancing, and I saw one that said, "The Appalachian Trail, where we go to be alone, together."
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because we hike alone a lot, but we're always together in the evening, and there's so much camaraderie and social aspect. Okay. You had in mind what you thought the trail would be, but maybe what's one thing you didn't expect that the trail has provided, or it's become, like just something you didn't expect? For example, to me, I thought it was supposed to be easy. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. I didn't know the mountains were that steep. So when I got out, one thing I didn't expect is how hard it is. You know.
It was a little bit more expensive than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, the levels of pain. You know, I was told it would be hard, and I knew it would be hard. But the levels of pain you go through, and the talks you have to have with yourself to get you through a day sometimes.
I know he's dealt with several blisters, and I met him when he had on boots, and then he switched to trail runners, and he had bandages on his feet, and he's been through a lot.
I have had like 2 leg injuries that I've had to walk through, and you just grit your teeth and pop 2 Advil and keep going.
Do you have a favorite piece of gear or something that?
Oh goodness, favorite piece of gear. Not really.
Everything's required.
Everything's required, and I do like my backpack. I took 3 weeks to get ready for this.
Yeah.
So which is, if anyone has tried to go and do something like this, 3 weeks is an insane turnaround.
Yeah.
That's very unrealistic, and yet I still somehow did it. So when I ordered my bag, my brother, he had a similar bag, same brand, just a little bit heavier version. And so when I went through the list of gear, I just ordered the lighter version.
Yeah.
I just clicked order, and it just turns out it works really well because it has this mesh.
Yeah, the mesh back.
It's called the airspeed system from Osprey, and it keeps the bag off my back.
Yeah.
Allows wind back there so that I'm not pouring sweat.
So there's 4 of us that hike together, and all 3 of them have Osprey packs, and mine's a Hyperlight. So I don't have a mesh back, but the way mine's shaped, it has a bar in there that keeps us airspace, so air will travel through, but I don't have mesh. So anything you didn't expect or you didn't need that you shipped home? I know right now you're wanting to get rid of winter gear, but I don't think you really shipped anything home, did you?
I did.
What?
First day, I shipped more winter gear home.
Okay.
Because every website I said or read was, it's cold. It's cold. They hammered the point home. It was cold. So I brought more winter gear, and I came out here and went, seriously?
Yeah, he's from Canada, so cold is all relative to him.
This is what you're talking about? I shipped home about 4 pounds of extra wool because I was like, no. This isn't needed. This isn't cold. This is summertime.
Yeah, I shipped home like 6 pounds within the first week trying to get rid of stuff. What's the main thing you miss by being on trail? So like something that you have at home that you don't have on trail.
The familiarity. of home.
Okay. Yeah.
You
the
know,
comforts.
you go home and it's home, right? Everything has its place. It's very familiar. Out here, you don't really know where you're going to sleep at night. You have a guess. Like, there's a shelter this far away.
Yeah.
But also, sometimes it's like you get poured rain on, like we did last night, and we were like, we're going to go to this campsite.
Yeah.
Got absolutely soaked, and we're like, we're not going to this campsite.
Plans change like in a minute. Yeah, we had a plan to go to the campsite. We got poured on. And so, yeah, that's our little story for it. Actually, just tell that story real quick. So we ended up calling a shuttle driver. Mm-hmm.
And he said, call the Country View Inn, and I'll be there in half an hour. Get your room booked.
Yeah.
So we got our room booked. And
we were skipping church. We normally have church on Sunday, but we said, we'll skip church because we're alone and our rest of our group is gone. So, and they went to go to be with family. And so we were stuck together on the trail together. So we're like, well, just do a light hike instead of go to church. And I guess that didn't work. So what happened?
Well, we were talking about, so when can you drop us off tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, I'm pastor at the local church, and so you either got to get me to drop you off really early or wait till I'm done church. And it was like, or we could come with you to church.
Yeah. So we felt like the rain and getting us wet was God's way of saying, you're going to go to church tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we are. So this is, we're 2 questions left. The last one's anything that you want to share. So, But the one before that is, what's one way that you've grown spiritually or been encouraged in your faith? So,
when I came out here, January, I didn't even believe in God.
Yeah.
And then everything went sideways.
Yeah.
And God had very much commanded me to go on the trail. The way I like to describe it is, imagine a phone in your house that you don't know is there starts ringing. That's a scary feeling. So God commanded me to come out here, but my faith was very, very small. I just knew He was there. And as I continued to travel on the trail, people were placed before me to help foster that faith, help it grow, teach me.
Yeah.
I like to say that God's loud out here, but that's not quite accurate or true. What it is that everything else is quiet out here so that you can listen to God.
The distractions are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what y'all don't know, well, just part of our backstory is I met Mark in Georgia at a Round the Bend hostel, and I got the last bunk available, and Mark was above me. And he had heard that I was a chaplain, and he was going through just some life crises, and that's what led him on trail. But then he said, I really need to talk to somebody. And it was just perfect that God set it up in His sovereignty that we were there together.
Yeah.
We talked for an hour or two. We prayed together. I kind of prayed over him, prayed for him, shared the gospel with him, and said, this is what it is. When you're ready to commit to the Lord, and surrender your life, let's talk about it. And so I didn't see Mark for like 3 weeks.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then we ran into each other again, and he's like, oh, chaplain, I'm doing so much better. Thank you. Your words of encouragement have been good. And then you were counseling someone, and then you actually told me that you needed to accept your own words of advice.
Yeah.
Like you were giving this other person advice, but then you realized those words were for you as well.
Yeah.
But then in a weird way, if I could tell you all this, my distant cousin, George Smith, he goes by Old Man on Trail. He'll be 20 soon. But he's a relative, and we had not talked on the phone before. We just texted through Instagram. But anyway, George says, hey, I got somebody that wants to be baptized. And I'm like, who is it? And he said it was, Mark, Canada Dry Pumpkin. And I said, well, I know Mark. We were together. And so sure enough, I jumped forward 170 miles, and we've been hiking together, and we did our baptism the other day. That's on one of our videos. And so definitely Mark was an interview we had to do. But we had a good time at baptism, and then you'll see in the baptism video, we did another baptism. There was another guy there that had never been baptized. But really the story is about God's sovereignty, how He put us together, how he followed up, how we met again, and then how Mark ran into our cousin George.
Yeah.
Then George was discipling, and then George said, "Hey, Chappie, come join us." And so really, it's been my honor to be able to, to be with you, to do the baptism. And that was really my whole goal on trail, was not really to get to Katahdin, but to be on mission for God. And, you were the mission. God put you and our lives together. And that means more to me than, a sign on a mountain. Because what we're doing is, for eternity. Being a child of God and trusting Jesus for salvation, and that's really what matters out here. Somebody even said, how weird to do a baptism, and just the world does not understand. Their eyes are veiled and they think it's stupid, but to those of us who have faith and hope, we know that it's the most important thing. So last, Mark, let me give you the floor back. Just anything you'd like to close with, this is kind of your interview.
The Appalachian Trail, I've noticed, is very much an analogy for life. It sounds so cheesy, but there's ups and downs on the trail, and there's ups and downs in life, and it's just learning to cope with all of them. And in life, we think about how the ups are good, right? But on the trail, sometimes it's like, I'm tired of the ups, and I want the downs, right? And then there's the ups and downs mixed in with the weather. Yeah. So it's like, I'm having a great time. I found a level spot, or I'm going up, and then the weather hits you, and everything just pours on you.
Yeah.
And
kind of like life, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all an analogy for life and how you handle it and how you react. Out here, you can't control anything just about. The only thing you can control is left and right and how you choose your attitude.
Yeah.
Like, within my first week, I got poured on. It's like someone took a 5-gallon bucket and turned it over, and I was just mad.
Yeah.
But there's no point in getting mad, because you got to carry on.
You can't change it.
I tried setting up my tent while it was pouring, and by the time I was done setting up my tent, I was soaking wet, and it was like, well, I should just keep going. I'm already wet, and halfway through the day, I'd just reach acceptance and move on with life.
So the trail is kind of like life. Yeah, it throws things at you that you can't control.
Yeah.
So the only thing we can control is maybe how we respond to difficult things in life, and as a Christian, we can turn to God for hope. We can turn to Him, through prayer. He knows what we need, and before we even ask. And so, yeah. Well, that's it. Thank you, Mark, for being my friend this whole time, and for just trusting me to counsel with you. And to me, again, it was my honor to do your baptism. It was not a duty, but it's a sacred rite, I think. And so I appreciate you trusting me with that and allowing me to be part of your spiritual journey. So, and I think what we've decided too, when you meet a friend on the Appalachian Trail, you're like friends for life.
Yeah.
So Mark wants us to visit it in Canada.
Yeah.
And I said if he's ever in South Carolina to come and visit me. And that's, the trail bonds you in a deep friendship more than you would just have, back in life.
You recommended a podcast.
Yeah.
And you said, this will be my parting wisdom before I go. And I said, well, this will be your parting wisdom before you leave to go south and visit your family. But it won't be the last time you counsel me.
The podcast that I recommended was Solid Joys by John Piper. They're just 2 to 3 minutes, but they're very deep in wisdom and the words of God. And I just appreciate Pastor John pastoring me through his podcast, Solid Joys. So I do highly recommend it. So, okay, thank you all for being an audience for our interview. I hope you've been encouraged by something in this. And if you have any feedback for us, or let us know anything in the comments, and we'll be glad to look at that. And we got at least the rest of the week together. So we got 6, 7 more days together, and then I'm going to be taking a break, and then, we'll be parting. So, all right, thank you.